So China is making this huge push to ramp up production of its J-35 stealth fighter. But this isn't just about building a new plane. It's way bigger than that. We're talking about a grand strategy, linking pure industrial might with a brand new naval doctrine to challenge the military balance in the Pacific, and maybe even beyond.
It's one of those fundamental questions in geopolitics, right? For decades, if you were a rising power, the answer usually involved things like asymmetric tactics or getting a nuclear deterrent. But China? Well, China's taking a very different route.
You see, the core of their strategy doesn't start on a battlefield. It starts on a factory floor, inside a massive, high-tech manufacturing complex. It's about literally building a challenge, piece by piece, at a scale that's just incredible.
And that brings us to our first section. To really get what the J-35 is all about, you first have to understand the sheer industrial ambition that's powering it.
Get this, the company behind the J-35, the Shenyang Aircraft Corporation, or SAC, has made a really bold promise to double its entire warplane output in just a few years. Now, that's not a small bump. That is a clear signal that they intend to mass produce some serious military hardware.
And you better believe they're putting their money where their mouth is. That's the investment being poured into their new facility. A number that big tells you one thing: this is a top national priority. And to give you a sense of the scale here, that investment is building a new Shenyang aerospace city that covers 4.2 square kilometers. This isn't just a factory we're talking about. It's an entire industrial zone dedicated to just one thing: building planes faster. Now, what's really fascinating here is the context. According to experts like Justin Bronk, China has a playbook for this. They've done it before, successfully scaling up production for other advanced jets like the J-20 and J-16. So this suggests their goal for the J-35, while it sounds crazy ambitious, is actually based on a proven model. So, we have the factory. But what exactly is it building? Let's take a closer look at the J-35 itself, the dragon's new talons, so to speak. The most crucial point to understand about this jet is its job. The J-35 is purpose-built to operate from aircraft carriers. It's designed from the ground up to be the primary fighter launching from China's newest flagships, allowing them to project naval power far, far from their own shores. Now, it's really important not to get the J-35 confused with China's other famous stealth fighter, the J-20. They're totally different beasts. Think of the J-20 as a heavyweight fighter built for one primary job: dominating the sky. The J-35, on the other hand, is a more versatile, multi-role workhorse, a medium-sized jet that can handle both air-to-air combat and strike missions. And this really illustrates a key part of China's strategy for getting this done so quickly. The J-35 isn't being built from scratch. They're borrowing a ton of proven, mature technologies straight from the J-20 program, things like its advanced sensors, its radar, and its weapons systems. It's a very clever shortcut to getting a capable, modern fighter into service fast.
Okay, so let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here. A fighter like the J-35 doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's a key piece in a much larger strategic puzzle: China's evolving carrier doctrine.
You see, the J-35 and the aircraft carrier Fujian are basically a package deal. China's older carriers use that ski jump ramp, which really limits them. But the Fujian, it has advanced electromagnetic catapults, just like the newest US carriers. That means it can launch heavier, more heavily armed aircraft, like the J-35, and that dramatically increases its combat potential. And this, of course, leads us to the most pressing strategic question of all. Military analysts have actually outlined a specific doctrine for how this new carrier group might be used in a potential conflict in the region. According to the doctrine laid out in the source material, the strategy would be a kind of 1-2 punch. The Fujian carrier, with all its J-35s, would position itself east of Taiwan. Its job, to establish control of the air and sea, and, this is the critical part, try to block any potential US or Japanese intervention. At the exact same time, an amphibious assault ship would handle the landing operations, creating intense pressure from multiple directions. Of course, the J-35 wasn't designed in isolation. It was built with one primary competitor in mind, the American F-35. So the question is, how do they really stack up? You know, it's easy to dismiss the J-35 as just a copycat. And yeah, visually, there are some similarities. But when you look deeper, what you really see are different design philosophies and different strategic priorities. It's less about cloning and more about making different choices to achieve different goals. And this table breaks down those trade-offs beautifully. The F-35 is pretty much the gold standard in all aspects stealth and sensor fusion. It's just world-leading. But the J-35 appears to prioritize raw speed and maybe has a slightly longer combat radius. And then, of course, you have the big one. The F-35 has years of operational experience, while the J-35 is the new kid on the block with no combat record to speak of.
But here's the thing. Individual performance is only part of the story. There's an old saying that quantity has a quality all its own. And this chart really illustrates the numbers game in the region. By 2025, it's estimated that China will be able to field a combined stealth fleet that just numerically outmatches Taiwan's most advanced fighters. That creates a significant challenge, no matter how you slice it.
But the J-35 story doesn't end in the Pacific. No. China has global ambitions for its new fighter, and they're aiming to make it a major player on the international arms market.
So here's the sales pitch. For nations that either can't buy or maybe just don't want to buy the American F-35, the J-35 is being presented as the next best thing. It's cheaper, and it comes with fewer political strings attached, which means it's targeting a whole different segment of the market. But the path to becoming a global export success is packed with major hurdles. It faces stiff competition not just from the F-35, but from other emerging fighters like South Korea's KF-21. And more importantly, potential buyers have these nagging concerns about the reliability of Chinese military tech, especially engines and avionics, plus big questions about long-term support and upgrades.
And that brings us to this quote, which I think just perfectly captures the entire story. China has shown an absolutely incredible ability to achieve industrial scale. The big, unresolved question is whether it can translate that scale into a sustained, qualitative advantage, both on the battlefield and in the global market.
So, we end where we began, but with a much sharper question. The J-35 represents this massive bet on quantity and rapid development. The F-35, on the other hand, represents decades of investment in cutting-edge quality. So, which approach is going to define the future of air power? Well, that remains to be seen.